identifying suspicious and potential harmful kind of like activities. So one of the best example to understand that more, like how it can be useful, is that let's imagine that you receive an alert where an email was received from an unfamiliar sender. Okay, so an unfamiliar sender sent out an email. Okay, so what we do is that and that email also has certain kind of attachments in it. Okay, it has certain kind of attachment in it. So what we do is that we analyze the email header. And somehow we were able to kind of get the IP address of the sender. Okay, we got the IP address of the sender, for example, from the email header. So the email that we received, we analyzed the email header and we got the IP address of the sender, for example. And now what we can do is that now to access, like if that email is indeed safe to kind of, then one of the way to kind of access rather than kind of checking the attachment, let's say we want to see that, okay, if that email is indeed like kind of a safe or not. So what we can do is that to assess safety, you can examine the email header as we done. We got the IP address and then we conduct a reverse, like one of the things that we can do is we can conduct a reverse DNS lookup of that domain. Okay, so let's say from this IP address, we got the domain name when we did the reverse DNS lookup. And now the thing is that if that domain name, let's say it turned out to be abc.com, and if it was seen and when we do the reputation check or the ACE check, okay, we found that, okay, this website was indeed a part of phishing website, indeed a part of phishing campaign, then we are totally sure that, okay, this email that we have received can be indeed malicious in nature. Just because when we did the reverse DNS lookup, we kind of found out that, okay, this domain that is linked to this IP address is indeed kind of malicious. And the passive DNS, few examples I like to say is that there was one alert that I got from the threat intel team, and it was related to the IP address. Okay, related to the IP address, and the thing was that IP address was told that it is malicious in nature. Okay, in that report. So when I did the passive DNS lookup, what I found is that domain, when I got the list of the IP address of that one and the domains, and what I found that threat intel report was, let's say, 2 months old, and what we found is that in that 2 month old, that IP was resolving to abc.com, but now I see that, okay, that IP is resolving to, let's say, w.com last 1 month, and let's say it is resolving to that IP, the same IP is resolving to a.com today, for example. So using this passive.com, I quickly know that thing is that now this IP is not malicious because this IP is pointing to a new domain. Now it has been kind of utilized by a new domain, and that new domain, when I did the reputation check and the ACE check, I came to know that, okay, this is not malicious. So then I closed that alert saying that this threat intel report is a stale one. It's no more valid because that IP address has changed from abc.com to a new domain now, and those domains are kind of indeed not malicious in nature. Okay, so this is something this is the different ways by which you can kind of conduct what do you mean by reverse DNS lookup and what you mean by passive DNS lookup, and how you can kind of utilize that for kind of incidents. And the incident that I shared, the last one, is something which I will say you will be kind of encountering multiple times. So there are a lot of malicious software. So one of the malicious software, I'm not recalling the name. It starts with C. It's a C2 server. Something. It's a very famous pen testing tool, actually. Okay. This is just, let me see. Okay. So I'm not able to kind of recall that name, but it's actually kind of famous. And thing is that, oh yeah, so it's actually Cobalt Strike. Okay, And I guess few of you guys might already know about this one. Okay, so it's Cobalt Strike. Okay, so Cobalt Strike is actually used to kind of conduct multiple attacks on the system, and this is actually used for simulation actually. But the thing is that this software has been kind of once someone kind of download this software, someone put that in the torrent, and a lot of cracks are also available for this Cobalt Strike. And thing is that now a lot of attackers are also using this Cobalt Strike to kind of conduct use attacks at a massive scale on the company. So now thing is that what we did was that we actually have the IP addresses of Cobalt Strike servers with us. Okay, we got those IP addresses by using a technique known as JAM. Okay, I will kind of discussing this JAM in much more detail what this JAM tool is. Okay, so utilizing this JAM tool, my team was actually able to kind of figure out the list of all valid Cobalt Strike IP addresses. Okay, so let's say during the JAM tool, I got the list of C2 IP addresses that belongs to Cobalt Strike tool. Okay, and then my team actually set up an alert that if any system communicate with those IP address, just alert the SOC team. So thing is that most time what happens is that when we got an alert for this, what we do is that we do the passive DNS lookup. Okay, and then we see that okay, that's last time in the report we see that okay, the IP address, this IP address, the domain name was let's say ee.com, and now we see that in the passive DNS lookup that ee.com was like 2 months old, and now this IP is being utilized by let's say r.rec.com or let's say some other website, okay, which is not malicious. And so based on that, what we do is that we quickly close out the alert saying that the IP addresses alert that we have set up is now stale because the IP address has been now allocated to different domains rather than the malicious domain that we saw earlier. So this is how what we do is that we normally use passive DNS lookup. And I believe like you guys might have also come up this kind of scenarios, and or not, you'll be kind of coming up with this kind of scenarios in the future where you need to kind of utilize passive DNS lookup into kind of figuring out if that alert is in this false positive or true positive in nature. Okay, so that's all about reverse DNS lookup and passive DNS lookup and how you can kind of utilize that in real incidents and utilize that. Yeah, go on.
I'm to the point why you like took the Cobalt Strike IP addresses that he took. What was the reason like?
Okay, so the reason is that there were a lot of attacks, and the reason was that the Cobalt Strike was actually in the hands of a lot of hackers, okay, in a cracked way. And what we were doing is, what we were seeing is there were a lot of attacks, like almost like there's one massive attack, and then there were like a lot of 100 types of different attacks using Cobalt Strike tool. Okay, so we need to kind of come up with certain setting some alert such that just as soon as the malware try to reach out to the C2 server of Cobalt Strike, we get an alert such that we can stop the malware from downloading any additional malicious file, or to kind of contain the impact. Okay, so as soon as we get an alert, what we do is that we figure out if it is true positive or false positive, and then what we do is that we quickly jump on that box, and if it is true positive, we contain that system immediately. Okay, so that's the reason why we kind of generated the list of IP addresses of the Cobalt Strike server using a JAM tool, and then we kind of set up an alert just to kind of the whole intention over there was to kind of contain the incident. So rather than kind of missing upon the alert and kind of letting the malware run, what we did is that as soon as the malware was trying to communicate with the C2 IP address, we block at that point of time, and that's where we were able to actually we were able to know two things. One is like how that malware came into that system, and this is one thing we came to know, and how can we kind of using that lesson learned can we kind of patch that vulnerability, and that's one thing. And the other thing is that how that malware came to system, and the other thing is like before that malware spreads to other system, can we contain that thing?